Hi, in this video, I'll talk about 5 tips which can help you become better programmers. Specifically for beginner programs, there are certain things which I have, certain errors which I have committed. So through my experience, I want to share those with you. So tip number 1 is plan before you code. So a lot of times what happens is beginner programmers, whenever you give them a problem, they just start, coding. They start getting into the problem and, get started. But that is not the right way. You first have to understand different components of what you are trying to build. You have to ask questions where you have any doubt. Maybe the person who has given you the problem or the task himself or herself has not think about those scenarios, right? So how the different components interact with each other, if there are certain conditions where one component might have on the other, right? So these whole scenarios you have to think about before you get into the real coding part. And through our experience, also through my experience, we created an e-commerce app, and after 3 months of coding, right, we realized if we had just taken 1 or 2 weeks just to understand different components, how they interact with each other, we would have been in a very good spot. So try to build this habit. Whenever any problem is given to you, first you write it down. What are the different components, what are the path you are trying to take, and discuss with the person who's giving you the problem, and then move ahead. Second tip I will give you is have very clear understanding of your fundamentals, right? A lot of times beginner programmers I've seen just copy pasting things from Stack Overflow or from some blogs or from documentation, but if you ask them what does that mean, they will not understand. Example, I was talking to somebody who's been working in React for 2 years, and I asked a very simple question: what does an Ajax request, XHR request means? So that person was not able to answer. So that means you are just trying to just do the job, do the task, but not understanding the fundamentals, and that can be a big blind spot in your whatever work you are doing, and can be really penalize you later on. So don't do that. Try to understand the fundamentals. There are a lot of YouTube videos, there are a lot of textbooks or some courses, etc., or you can ask people who are much more conversant in that thing. But any line you write basically in your code, or even if you copy some line from somewhere else, you should really understand what that line means. So third, that's the second tip. Now the third tip I will say is again very similar to first tip, but think about all the scenarios, right? Not only the happy case. So suppose you are building a checkout flow. There are 3-4 steps. One step is to add to cart, then second is the address, third is the payment, and final is the success page. Now in the payment scenario, there can be multiple things, right? It can be a success payment, it can be a failure payment, or it can be a pending payment, right? So for all these scenarios, you have to think how will you handle in your code. Not only the happy case, right, that okay, payment will always be successful, even if 99% time that is successful, even in 1% time it's not successful, your code will crash. And a lot of times that happens, right? So that is a good programmer who has thought of all the different scenarios before you code, right? A lot of times programmers says or coder says that, oh, I did not think of that scenario. So that is a very sort of might be a bad thing on your sort of self, because programming coding is a very thinking job. So you have to think of all those scenarios which can lead to some errors. So that's the tip number 3. Tip number 4 is optimization. So it's very important to optimize on your code. So first, job of a programmer is to write the correct code. It gives the correct input for all the different scenarios. So that is a basic minimum. Second is how can you optimize code for better performance, right? There are a lot of tools. If you work in the front end, Google provides a web page test, right? I'll put a link in the description which helps you understand, right, where you are lacking. And then similarly, there are backend tools now. If you're working with Django, there's Django toolbar, and I'm sure they're similar with other technologies as well. So as a good developer, as a better developer, it's not enough to just write the code which works. It's very important to optimize the code as well, because as the scale increases, those things will really matter. And the final tip is to keep it simple, right? A lot of times what happens in beginner programmers is they try to overcomplicate things, or maybe try to show off, but there are no marks for showing off. It's all about, as we said, it's all about write code, optimize code, tested code, And also it's a code which is maintainable, right? Sometimes we think about then and there, we don't think, say, what will happen 2 months down the line. Say you only have to come back 2 months down the line to debug that code. So if the code is not very simply written, right? Maybe it's a very long functions or very long files, or the variable names are not descriptive or function names are not descriptive, then it will be a very a difficult job for you to debug. Or if somebody else is looking at your code, they will not be able to understand, right? So keep it simple for yourself and for others as well. At the end, understand what your job is, to make the application successful, to make it very clear and easy to understand. So yeah, those were the 5 tips. Plan before you code. uh, have very clear understanding of the fundamentals. Make an effort to do that. Then think about all the different scenarios, not only the positive cases but the negative cases as well, edge cases as well, and optimize your code and keep it simple. So yeah, that's it. I think those are the tips. Please let me know how you like this video, and for more such videos, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.